What it is, guys, it's your old boy Pilk, and I'm coming back at y'all with more Danmachi. Now, we talked about this yesterday in a little bit of detail, actually a decent amount of detail, but being the Familia Rush is coming up here in the next about half hour or so, as of recording this, I want to give you guys a big talk about what you need to be doing in Familia Rush, and some strategies and things that you really need to pay attention to in order to be super successful at this round. Now, this first round here, these little disgusting germs, as they're calling them, every unit in here is, from what I understand, at least these make sense, they're considered worms. I didn't think this was going to be a thing, but apparently it's a thing. So all of your units, like the new Belle, my favorite, Aisha, they're all going to have big benefits. Anyone that has that worm killer skill is going to have super big benefits in this event currently. Okay? So, 5 disgusting germs. Sounds like a song. It's that time of year, too. They do physical attacks, and they do poison. So you want to make sure that you have good anti-poisons, or at least ailment resistance, on your team. They do buff strength, so having someone that can remove strength buffs would be super handy. Looking once again at Aisha. The only downside is because Aisha is a single target unit, not really that good. But Belle does it, and Belle is an AoE unit, he has 2 AoE attacks. So Belle is going to be a fantastic unit all around for every version, every single one of these events. So if you have the new Belle, good times. Weaknesses and resistance. Fire and thunder are both 0%. That means that they're neutral. You could use them, you don't have to use them. Earth is -10, and water is -50. That means they're the weakest to water units. So it's a real good time to start working on your water team and start buffing the crap out of your water team. You really, 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 really want to use water, at least on this first one, if you've got it. That's not to say Argonaut and Crozo won't be good, but remember, they're predominantly soul attack units, so not the best, if I'm honest, at least not for these first 2 rounds. But since they're 0%, if that's all you've got, 100% they are going to be good for that. Okay, light and dark plus 10% and wind plus 30%. So don't use light, don't use dark, and definitely don't use wind. And don't use magic either on this first round, at least. First round, magic resistance is up 30%. Physical resistance is down 10%. You want to use physical units. You very much want to use physical units. Of course, we are going to be live streaming here in just a little bit, and we're going to be talking about all this and actually running this when it goes live. So if you want to join us for that, make sure you hit that little bell icon so you stay up to date and notified when these things happen. Okay? That's round 1. Like I said, Belle is going to be absolutely your best unit here, but all the new units are going to be pretty good for this. Round 2, 3 eyeballs. Where's the 4 calling birds? Anyway, 3 eyeballs. They once again do physical attacks. They buff physical resistance, so you want to debuff their phys resist or just remove buffs altogether, but I don't think you can remove that one. I think that one's just, you've got to debuff them if you want to use physical. Though, we'll get to that here in a moment. Okay? Strength attacks with physical resist and strength debuff. So they're going to debuff your strength. Once again, we'll get to that in just a moment. And they do slow ailment. That's only so useful. Slow ailment doesn't really bother me ever. The real downside to slow ailment, the biggest downside to that, is when that's not the only ailment. Being that that's the only ailment, I wouldn't worry about it. If there's other ailments available, like they do slow and say stun, then your units that resist ailments could actually be limited. Like, say someone hits you with slow, then hits you with stun, it's using up those ailment resistance faster. But slow ailment is the only thing they really do aside from debuffing you, and you can't, that's not an ailment, that's not going to be affected by that. So just be aware of that. Slow ailment, I wouldn't worry about it. Weaknesses and resistance. Wind and thunder are once again 0%. Water is plus 10%. Earth is plus 50%. So your earth units are going to be really good here. Fire is plus 10%. Once again, I would say Argonaut and Crozo are not your best friends here, but at the same rate, they debuff enough. If that's all you've got, I don't blame you. They're good units. Light and dark are plus 30%. So your light and dark teams are utterly useless. But once again, unless you debuff the crap out of them. But I don't think there's any units in light and dark that really make it worthwhile, if I'm completely honest. If that's all you got, that's all you got. That's a thing. But I would say at this point in time, you probably need to be summoning on the current banner if that's all you got. So here's the real kicker. Physical resistance is up 30%. That's that blue 30 over there. Physical resistance is up 30%. So you want to predominantly use magic, because magic is down 30%. Now, I know I, for one, don't have very good earth magic units. I really don't. Especially not worm killers. And I do believe, unless I'm mistaken, and I could be mistaken, I do believe that these guys do still count as worms. I think everybody in this Familia Rush counts as a worm, even though they're pretty much sludge. So that's that. Magic Earth is kind of your best friend here. Now, that said, water resistance is down 10%, and I personally have some really good water debuffers. So you're probably still, I'm going to be looking at throwing, because it's AoE, throwing that bell on here. He's just going to be good. My water team is good enough and has enough debuffers that really is going to be where I think I'm going to be at. Now, removing those debuffs, the new Haruhime is going to be absolutely, I wouldn't say vital, but integral to a really good team to basically kind of counteract all that stuff and still have the effects of all the heals and everything that you're going to need. So hopefully you've got her. If you don't, her banner is still around for another week. You've still got another week to pull her. So that's the thing. All right. That's round 2. Round 3. Round 3 is going to be the good one. Swamp King. Physical attacks. Poison and slow ailments. Remember when I said earlier, when they do the double ailment, we have tons of units in the game now that do ailment resistance, but it's kind of squandered when they throw slow and poison at you. So you want to make sure you have the anklets that resist poison on your units for round 3. It sucks, it's a thing, but frankly, it's going to be better for your teams in the long run. Poison resistance is going to be really critical, because if you're poisoned, you're going to be hurt and you're going to be just bogged down. Probably not as big a deal, maybe the first 2 or 3 runs. After that, it's going to be a kind of a killer. Physical resist debuffs. So debuffs your physical resistance and since he has physical attacks. Once again, the new Haruhime is going to be really, really, really good. Plus, she's got those counter heals. No reason not to use her. Okay? Removes physical resistance and strength buffs. So, when you put a buff down, expect you're going to have to basically rebuff it at some point in time. So, doesn't remove debuffs. So once you debuff them, they're kind of there. If you're thinking about using your retreat anklets, there you go. That's kind of your strategy. Hit them with the debuffs and keep your buffers on your team, because you're going to have to... It's going to hit you. I don't know what turns it is. We'll talk about that when it happens. But he's going to hit you. He's going to remove those buffs. You're going to have to rebuff them. It's not like it's going to, you can't replicate them at that point. They're just kind of gone. So be aware of that. Weaknesses and resistance. Fire and Thunder is 0%. Once again, Argonaut and Krazo, not the best, but very, very viable here on this one. Very viable on this one. Water minus 25% and Earth minus 35%. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Because I'm thinking the new Tione. Or, I'm sorry, the Tione. Aisha. Tione. The new Aisha is going to... I think I said Tione earlier, too. The new Aisha, that's what I'm talking about here. She's going to be absolutely stellar for this. Absolutely stellar. Light is up 10%, wind is up 20%, and darkness is up 30%. So once again, light, wind, and dark are useless here. Don't use them. Okay? Physical is down 20%, and magic is down 20%. So magic or physical are all game. All of them are game. If you want my opinion... I say, if you really want to hit this guy hard, debuff the crap out of him, have some units that do, because he doesn't do any buffs to himself. He doesn't do any buffs to himself. He just does debuffs and removes buffs. So you need to be able to remove basically all those debuffs on yourself. The new Haruhime is going to be really good at that. And you need to be able to rebuff yourself. So, sorry, OG Haruhime, not really what you're going to want here. You want the new Haruhime. I say OG as she's a couple months old. But you get the concept. You get the concept here. Hopefully, you're now starting to think about what teams you want to build and where you want to go with this. This is going to be challenging for some people that are, especially those people that have said we're waiting on the new collab banner. I really still think we've got a way more. I'm thinking we got 6 weeks minimum before the collab. I just based on what we've seen and what's been promised in the game. I think you were safe to summon for now. Now, if you want strategies for saving, I will definitely show you guys some of the stuff that I've been doing that, frankly, people have been yelling at me for, but I did the math on it. It's going to work out. It's going to work out. I'll release all of that in a video this weekend talking about ways to save and if you're new to the game, ways to like make sure you have some farmable iris at all times. Some of these seem like common sense options, but some of them actually kind of make a lot of sense. So we'll talk about all that this weekend. For now, that's Record Buster, guys. Record Buster. Familia Rush, guys. Record Buster just left. That is Familia Rush. War Games is coming back as well, so we're going to talk about all of that in its own video, but I want you to be prepared for this coming up here shortly. That's the video, guys. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Follow my Birdman. Hit me up on Booker. I'll be back at you guys with the live stream here in just a few short minutes.